You gotta love yourself on camera, and then your clients are gonna love you because they're gonna fall in love with what you have to say, what you've learned, and you're also as a photographer, there's so many things that go into making a shot look beautiful, and
Mm,
I think that the person on the other side doesn't always understand the lighting and the positioning and the storytelling, and so by talking to camera to or even writing a longer caption, you're able to dive into your process more, which will then help you land a higher paying client, help you get a
mm.
bigger package because they're going to understand the time it takes to put that beautiful product together.
Shut her up and shine.
Hey, Shutter Squad, welcome back to the One Behind the Lens. I am so excited for today's episode. My guest is Katie Love, founder and CEO of Love Social Media. Before this, Katie spent almost a decade as a broadcast journalist. So she has that storytelling background that she actually brings into everything she does now, helping women show up on social media in a way that actually builds trust and makes money, not just collects the followers. We get into so much in this conversation: what credibility looks like online, why polished content isn't always what's winning clients anymore, the story behind how she built an entire personal brand around the color pink, and why she thinks every photographer needs to rethink what they're actually posting and who it is for. We also talk AI, upselling, and where should you be spending your time if you're only going to give yourself about an hour a week for marketing. Katie also just found out that she has 5 reels nominated for the Reelies Awards. So we touch on that too. This is one that is packed with real practical advice, whether you're a photographer, a creative, or you just are trying to figure out social media for your business. Let's get into it. Katie, thank you so much for being on the One Behind the Lens. This is so fun.
I'm so happy to be here.
I think this is going to be a great conversation. I think this is a great conversation for photographers, but I think it's great conversations for any creative, anyone that is online.
I have to tell you, I started my social media agency almost 10 years ago now, working with photographers.
Oh,
And you all are some of my hardest critics on selecting images and videos. I'm like, these, you have such an eye, photographers do. It's almost hard to have a social media manager. Because imagine
right.
like we're making your selects
Yes.
and it just, but all the selects are beautiful. It was like the hardest, like a good, hard problem for me.
Right, right. Yeah. Oh, I can see that. I can see that. And I can see because even now, and I know we'll probably get into this a little bit of just, us having to be on camera or, for social media where you don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect, where I think we have photographers have a real issue with that.
Yes, and one of my very dear friends, 2 of them are photographers, and we talk about this all the time because they hear me on social say, "You have to get out from behind the camera and you need to talk to camera," and they can't perfectly edit it in Lightroom or whatever they want, and I'm like, "You
Right.
show both the portfolio of your work and also who you are and who you're gonna be when a if you're working with a wedding client or whoever it is, that who are you gonna show up as, and who's the vibe of the person you're working with?" People can
Right,
tell that
right,
on social.
right. Oh, yeah, totally, totally. And I think that's what people are looking for now. Like, yes, they want beautiful photos when if they're looking for photographers. They want, obviously, that's the outcome, but I feel like they wanna know who you are. That's what's gonna really, like, make them buy.
Absolutely. So it's the same thing with social media managers. There's a lot of us now. There's a lot of photographers too. So when someone has a choice to make, they wanna get to know who you are, and the best and fastest way to do that is for you to treat your social media not just like a portfolio for your work, but a portfolio for your whole self. So
Sure.
so I've started to say to my clients, pun intended, you've gotta love yourself on camera, and then your clients are gonna love you because they're gonna fall in love with what you have to say, what you've learned, and you're also as a photographer, there's so many things that go into making a shot look beautiful, and
Mm,
I think that the person on the other side doesn't always understand the lighting and the positioning and the storytelling, and so by talking to camera to or even writing a longer caption, you're able to dive into your process more, which will then help you land a higher paying client, help you get a
mm.
bigger package because they're going to understand the time it takes to put that beautiful product together.
Right, right. Yeah. So, Katie, we kind of jumped the gun. We just like really got started, but before like we get into any more, like I was just like, oh yeah, we got to like get into this. Before we get in too much, I just want you to just, if anyone is listening that doesn't know, has not been introduced to you, can you tell us a little bit about you? You kind of started your background, so give us a little bit more about you.
Yes. So I'm Katie. I am the founder and CEO of Love Social Media. My number one goal in life is to help women be seen on social and to make more money for them. I got my start as a broadcast journalist. I did that for almost a decade where I covered crime, politics, natural disasters, you name it. But what I really learned from that experience is storytelling. And I brought that into this world of creating content that really has meaning and purpose for our clients. And so I have gotten so much joy, almost now a decade in social media, really in particular helping women succeed on social.
And I do have to congratulate you. I did just saw that you guys have 5, was it 5 reels that are in the finalists for the Reelies
Oh my
Awards?
gosh, Kate, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
That was first of all, I love Manu who created the Reelies Awards because as a creator, you're a creator too. You put in so much work and effort, and just having someone recognize that even with a nomination is so
Mhm.
huge. My team puts in all this effort, so the 5 nominations was so exciting on content that we've, spent a lot of time creating.
Yeah, yeah, and if anyone who's listening or watching and you have where you can see those reels that are being nominated, so it's kind of fun to just swipe through to see which ones were nominated.
And next time too, think about yourself. If there's a behind the scenes reel that you put together, there's a million different categories, and just having award winner in your bio is something extra, a little extra clout to add. And we had a couple nominated last year, and we won one. And now I have a trophy, which don't think that you get those as an adult, and it's really fun.
I was gonna say, how fun is that? Yeah, I don't think of, like, yeah, as an adult getting to, like, very many opportunities for trophies.
Yeah, why
That's
not? We all deserve trophies. I
Yes,
yes.
going back to kind of the conversation that we started right away at the beginning, you often say that social media should build credibility, and we kinda touched on that a little bit, and not just, like, collect followers. What does credibility actually look like online?
Great question. And so, what that means is when someone is making a choice between you and someone else, they understand the years of experience, or even if you're starting out new, what have you done to get to this point? We've all done something. We've learned something, we've made mistakes. And so, having credibility allows someone to immediately zoom into who you are, decide whether they should follow you or not. And so for me, I've used a couple of different credibility markers. For a while, I would put on air TV reporter because that was I went to broadcast journalism school and I learned a lot. And then as my business developed, I was able to put that I had worked with celebrities and that very large brands had trusted what seemingly was a girl just quitting her job and trying to figure it out, and now has, a multi-million dollar company. And so my credibility has built over the years. And so when someone is deciding to work with me and I'm able to say confidently, I'm a former broadcast journalist who's worked with celebrities and large brands, and they chose me based on my experience and my knowledge. And this is what I can do for you. And you don't even need a celebrity as your resume, but
Sure.
how many weddings have you shot? How many happy brides? I'm just weddings on the brain, but like I do a lot of brand shoots with photographers. How
Mm,
many of those products have gone on to be in Target? Or, you could say I shot for a brand that ended up being in retail. So there's so many different ways to think about what has made you successful lately.
mhm, mhm. I just had so I do mainly high school seniors as kind of my, like, thing. And I was really showing on or I'm starting to show on social media how I have families that come to me year after year. Like there's 2 families this year that I have shot 4 of their kids. It's their babies of their kids this year and I was like, "Oh wow," but it's seeing that and not just being like, "I've photographed, you know, 4 of these kids," but putting it in a certain way. Some of them I might have photographed the kids when they were little too, so thinking that way too, so it's like you said, maybe I don't have a celebrity or, that kind of credibility, but showing other maybe senior parents, like, this family came to me multiple times.
Absolutely, because you know what's wrapped up in credibility is trust. And
Mm,
so that family is saying, I trust Kate because of her excellent work year after year to take these photos. And that's an amazing storytelling point for you as a business owner. And that
mhm,
builds your credibility online. It helps with the decision when a family is deciding who they want their senior portraits to be taken with. And so
mhm,
I think that is a differentiator, and all of us have it. You can even try to find this by asking your last 3 people that you've booked. Ask them, "Hey, I know you liked my work, but what was it about me or my services that really pushed it over the edge?" And
mhm.
recently, I had someone say, and I was so shocked, she said, "It was actually this video you posted on your personal account and you cursed." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what." She's like, "Because I just knew you were like the kind of woman I wanted to be around where you didn't care about seeming unpolished or roughed and you curse on a podcast, like you just were who you are." And
Mhm.
that helped me land the client, even though when that podcast came out, I was like, "Oh my god, maybe I wish they hadn't clipped the part where I said 'fuck.' Sorry, now I'm saying it on your
Sure.
podcast." But it helped me get a client.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like you said, like, for her, it made you real, it made you yeah, you weren't being, like, maybe, say, reading from a script or just being, like, polished, I guess is that word that keeps coming to my brain.
It's everywhere because I feel like I've been talking about it the most the last 6 months because we used to have people who wanted to put out content that was, like, perfect and every detail, like the background, their hair, their makeup, and that was really hindering our clients from
Mhm.
showing up because they didn't wanna show up unless they had everything.
Oh, sure.
And
Mhm.
so we need both. We need the
Mhm.
beautiful photos and beautiful videos, and we need the unpolished version of you. So
Mm.
my brand photos, which by the way, my very first investment in Love Social Media was brand photos,
Ah.
$800. I was so nervous in 2017. I was like -$50. Probably I bought some software. I was not making any money. I was like, I need photos to be seen as a legitimate businesswoman. And I think that that really helped my credibility at the beginning because when I
Mhm.
had no clients but then I had crafted at the time, you probably remember this, but, like, throwing confetti and balloons, and it was like an era,
Yes.
And and I had this beautiful pink wall behind me, and without understanding and knowing it, now I know it's brand psychology, I started to build a very pink branded world through my
Mm.
photos that then carried out into my entire life, where I had been stopped on the street and said, "Oh, you're that pink girl from Instagram." And I'm like, "That's the best compliment."
I was gonna say that's awesome. I love it.
I don't care that you don't know my name, but you know that this, like, color that makes me so happy and makes me feel confident and powerful has, like, been part of my brand for 10 years, um,
Right.
and that started all from brand photography.
That's great. I love that you knew, like, you knew to that you wanted those colors and you wanted, you had that, you know 'cause I feel like a lot of times with photographers and with anyone when we talk about branding or personal branding, like, I think, we think of different things, and a lot of do people do think of colors and fonts and things like that, but it wasn't just you going, "Oh, I'll just use pink," like, you really knew that was going to be the brand.
Definitely, because it said feminine, girly, which I am, but it also took some owning of the color to
Mm,
show up in sometimes male-dominated rooms in a pink blazer,
mhm.
and just being like, "This is who I am," and I did get advice early on, "Oh, don't use your pink photos on your website because you're gonna be turning off half the population." And I said, "Well, then that's the population I don't wanna work with."
Oh,
But
right, right.
but I did hear that, and I still maybe even a year or 2 ago, someone said, "Why don't you get rid of the pink so you can attract men?" And I would say and I was just like, "Why would I wanna do that? I don't wanna work with them." So, get that's not
Right, right. Yeah.
so it's helped me get very clear about who I wanna work with, and the men that we've worked with love it. They're like, "It's amazing.
Mhm.
It's a great color." I had one man wear a pink shirt almost every time we did a Zoom call together.
Well, and I love too that you just said, like, you know who you wanna work with,
Mhm.
and you're not wanting to attract everyone. You have who you wanna you know who your client is. And I think photographers have I know I went through this where I was just like and it was like, I'm gonna photograph weddings, I'm gonna photograph families and newborns and seniors, and and headshots, and I'm gonna do do every single thing.
Mhm.
And I know that there are photographers that still do that, and, that's if that's what they wanna do and, that's great. But then I know a lot of photographers who might just be wedding photographers or just senior photographers.
And in fact, if you are for everyone, I've often said, then you're for no one. And
Mhm.
so, how do we, first of all, do a checklist in our mind of the last 10 clients that you've had? Who really lit you up, got you so excited, who made you want to go into work on Monday and work on their content? So, that was one thing. Then I started to think about my experience. How was it? Was I stressed? What were the things that made the process easier for me? And it was a very clear early on in my business that I knew I wanted to work and help with women. And as I've built a team, I have the same my every team member that comes in feels very similar, and it's a very easy screening question when someone's applying to be and love social media. If I know within the first 15 minutes and I say, "Oh, what attracted you to love social?" And they say, "Well, you're just a badass group of women and I want to be part of it."
If someone lands on, say, a photographer's website, Instagram, social media for the very first time, what do you think builds the trust, instantly? And maybe what might lose it?
The first thing I want you to think about is your bio and what is adding personality, credibility, and then a call to action. And so, if we only have one part of this recipe, then we're not going to attract the right person. So, if we
Mhm.
only have what we do, but not what makes us who we are, then people don't get both. And if we only post that I am a cat mom who does Pilates, then people don't know what I'm able to do for them.
Sure.
So I think that you don't Gen Z is very into limiting their bio. They'll put like one emoji or one word. And as a business owner, it's the worst trend ever because it's it's such an important piece of real estate. And so I want you to look at your bio, and then I want you to look at your top 3 pinned posts. People often forget to pin the post,
Mm,
or the pinned post are their highest views and likes, and that's not really what we want. We want it to be within the 30 seconds that you get if someone's gonna buy from you or follow you, what you offer and who you are. So just rethink those pinned posts because that's also a very
mm,
important part of your profile.
mhm, mhm. That's a good yeah, that's good. I'm, like, thinking about what my posts that are pinned right at the moment. Yeah.
We never refresh the pin post. We never look at the stories. Every client that I work with, I go in and I'm like, your stories are from 8 years ago. You don't even have the same hair color. Or you're not even talking about that. And so you don't need to have 100 stories in each highlight, but
Mhm.
use your story highlights like a menu bar for your
Mm,
website. So there should be a clear about, there should be services, there should be something fun you've done, and just have
mhm,
a good 3 to 4 bubbles, and that's it.
and that's it. Would you then go in and, like, say if you did, like, say you're putting from your story, you're adding to your bubble, whatever that is, then are you saying then we should maybe go in and look at what those bubbles are showing and then be like, "Okay," like you said, like, 8 years ago, maybe we should take that
I
off?
I would if it's not reflective of who you are now, and also 8 years ago, like, you might have had cat ears on, you might have had a filter, like, I would just do a little vibe check on
Mhm.
what's actually in there.
What do you think is the biggest mistake you see photographers and really creatives that are business owners that they make with their actual content?
They make content for them and not for the people consuming it.
Mm,
And so I had to rewire my brain the last 6 months. I have now scaled my business to 25 incredibly talented women that are able to operate mostly the business without. What that means is I was able to step back and have time to create content to then become a lead generation source for my business. And before I had this wonderful flexibility, I was posting my kids, and that's what got me really excited, and they would do something funny, and I'd be like, "Oh, I'll just throw that up," and I was so in the thick of motherhood that that's all I was really sharing, and I didn't think about why someone would want to consume my content other than, "That's cute," or, "That's funny," and my growth was totally stagnant.
mm,
And then when I had the opportunity to really do a strategic evaluation of who I am, I call it the love framework, and the L is for leading and who am I and O is for owning your own story. I realized that I needed to make content for other people. And so what did they find valuable that I'm able to share? And there are so many Instagram gurus who go almost so far into intricate edits or ideas that it leaves behind all these founders and business owners who just need the basics.
mhm,
And
mhm,
and that's who I talk to every single day. I've talked to overwhelmed founders who maybe don't even know how to record a reel or find trending audio or do adapt a trend. And so I found that creating content for that person to really start to spark growth, not just with followers, but with business leads. And I say it to my clients and I would to say it to a photographer too. If you're just posting pretty pictures, but you're not creating content that someone might want to save or share with a friend, you're missing the post. And Instagram can be a portfolio, but if you want to
mhm,
really grow, it has to be more than that. It has to be social. It has to have
mhm.
some interaction.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Instagram now is very, like, TikTok-y, like,
Mhm,
I feel like before it was very much portfolio and
mhm,
it's turned into the Reels. I remember when,
mhm.
like, Reels kinda came out and I was like, "Well, why do I need to do that? I have the TikTok." And now it's like, "Oh, yeah," because it's basically that's how people are and I have to think about when I do consume social media and
Mhm,
what it is that I scroll by or what keeps me there.
mhm,
And I've learned too, like you said, you know, the portfolio side, I have been posting photos of course, but I've been doing a lot more like behind the scenes of very quick clips of like Brinley's senior session, and it might be a 30-second, just whatever clips I might have gotten during her session.
mhm.
Those have way more views, way more, interaction than my, say, a polished photo of Brinley. And I know that people wanna see that too, but I don't know if they wanna see it on Instagram as
This
much.
is a very hard pill for photographers and creatives to swallow,
Yeah.
and you need both because if someone came onto your page and didn't see any of your gorgeous photos, they're not gonna know the work you've created. But
Right.
to get them on that page, you're probably going to need reels, behind the scenes, a carousel graphic of how you let's say you're a student. I'm not sure if you do this with them, but do they send you their outfits? Do they think about the location? Like, there's, like, kind of a lot now. I feel like senior photos are way different than when I did them. They're
Oh,
much
me too.
more
Yes, they
okay.
are, yes.
Much more thought out, and
Mhm.
so, again, going back to the point that you're creating content, not that you like and wanna post, but that would be interesting to someone else, and so if someone gets the idea of what it's like to work with you or what they need to do to prepare for their senior photos, or gets inspiration, sends it to a friend, then you're gonna start to see more traction on social.
Mhm, mhm. How would you say, especially with your journalism background, I think this probably helps you a lot with storytelling, would be like in your DNA. How can photographers become more better storytellers with their, because I know, we're good storytellers, I feel like, with our photos, but with like, say, just captions now, like you were kind of talking about that with like the emojis and
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I told my photographer friend who had the same issue, I was like, "Think about your day." And so we did a big brand shoot together, and she was like, "Okay, now what? What do I post?" And I said, "Well, we need to show your process," which even though she was the photographer, she also helped think about what wardrobe the model should be wearing that day and what props. Like, she is a really the director, as most
Mhm,
photographers are, into the entire visual creative, and whether sometimes the photographers don't get enough credit for the act. They just think, "Oh, that just magically was a beautiful photo." So, I told her, "You need to document the process even if it's just writing in your notes section. Here's what I did. What did you do to prepare? What did you do the morning of?" Like some I've had photographers say to me, "Oh, like I meditate or I stretch or I, always want to make sure I have my coffee in peace." Like, okay, that's storytelling. And
mhm,
so how do you share that in a carousel or in the caption? So the photo can be beautiful and then the caption could be you actually have no idea what it took to get this photo of Katie swimming in her pool. I had to get a ladder and climb on top and do an overhead shot. And so you're telling what happened and what made the photo possible, and that's gonna do well in your captions, even on LinkedIn, that kind of long
mm,
form storytelling. Substack has become really huge. So just start to think about the process and what you any mistakes that you've made, someone can learn from, or in your case, like a senior family, what if someone showed up and they only had one outfit? And so you want to make sure to give value and say, by the way, this is why we have multiple outfits, or this is why, like, I did family photos once and I said to her, oh, should we all be in the same color? She was like, actually, no, I hate that. We need more dimension. And she explained the psychology of why, if we're all in pink, it's going to kind of just make us a blob. And I thought that was super interesting. Like, that's something I would save before going into family photos with my family again.
Time out, friends. If you're a photographer, how many different platforms are you using to run your business? Editing software, client galleries, contracts, invoicing, your website, a CRM. What if you could bring it all together? That's exactly what Visco One does. It's built for photographers and helps you manage your clients, book sessions, send contracts and invoices, edit, deliver galleries, and even showcase your work, all from one connected platform. If you're ready to simplify your workflow and spend more time creating, I've included my Visco One referral link in the show notes. Go check it out and see how it can transform the way you run your photography business. We were just talking more about Instagram and like our website. Are there places that photographers should be looking at and not just be honing in on, say, Instagram, and where are those places?
Pinterest is huge for you guys because people still make, even for me, when I went to go do my 2026 brand photos and I had this new version of Katie. She's now a mom of two and she has these more team and bigger clients. That was the first thing I did. I went to Pinterest and I looked at inspiration. And if your photos are not on there, and if I could actually click on a photo, see that I liked the photo, and then see, oh, wait, that photographer is actually in Miami,
Mm.
I would love that. So
Mhm.
don't forget about Pinterest. You can actually auto connect it from your Instagram. So any post that you make can go in, but I would go in and clean up all your boards. And then the other sneaky undercover platform that I feel like is being underutilized is YouTube. So it's still the number one search engine. It's the most widely used social platform, mostly because people use it to consume TV and long form video. But the short part, the shorts, which is the same thing
Mm.
as Reels and TikToks,
Mhm.
has been really gaining traction also because of the SEO and keyword part of it going into YouTube owns Google or Google owns YouTube. But anyways, it all works together.
Sure.
So if someone is typing a brand photographer in Miami, one of your YouTube shorts is likely to come up if you start posting there. And I
Mm.
think that the goal as a photographer is anywhere someone is typing in a location and a photographer, you need to show up.
Mhm.
So whether that's Google Ads, YouTube, I think people are using TikTok search bar in the same way, Pittsburgh photographer.
Mhm.
And I because your job can be so location specific unless someone wants to pay for your travel fees, I want you to make sure that you're constantly getting the keywords of the cities and the state that you're willing to travel. That can
Mhm.
be in the post, in the caption. Hashtags are not really that important anymore, but that would be a way to just get it into the caption without just randomly saying, like, for me, Miami, Miami, Miami over and over
Right,
again.
right. Yeah, yeah. No, and that is good because I think as photographers too, and just business owners, there's just so many things you have to, like, think about, but if you are posting, definitely want to get those keywords in.
And they can be anywhere. So I talk about the 3 hooks. One is the verbal hook that you say on screen if you're talking to camera. The second is the actual text that goes in the middle of the screen or right above your head. And the third is just the visual hook of where you are. So you'll
Mm,
often see car videos perform really well, and that is a hook. People
mm,
are stopping and they're like, wait, 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 wait. What kind of tea is she gonna spill in her car right now? And why is she in her car? It's very
mhm.
jarring, but it's why so many car videos do so well. And so when you're thinking about your next reel, think about what the hook is gonna be. Is it visual? Is it the text? Or is it what you're actually saying?
Right, right. And it's funny to even think of that, like, that your car something I feel is simple, like, you're in your car a lot, just think about, "Okay, when I'm in my car, let's do, a couple." I mean, you could do a few content, videos right then and there.
I literally go in my car in my driveway. It doesn't go anywhere. I don't even bring the keys out, but I know people will listen to it more if they see the hook of me in a car.
In the car.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's great. And like I said, like you said, you just go right out there, do it. I love it. I love it.
Think of it as a set. It is one of the
Yeah.
sets that you use.
Yeah, yeah. So we touched on personal branding a little bit of like your first when you first started your business and your branding photos. Um and I think we hear that word all the time, but many photographers don't want to they don't want to, they're like, I have my branding, but I don't want to be an influencer. How do you build a recognizable brand without feeling like you're constantly talking about yourself?
So you can have influence without being an influencer. And the way to do that is to be a storyteller. And so you don't necessarily have to put yourself in all the photos and all the videos. But as a photographer, there's always a subject, right?
Mhm.
And so could you ask whoever is going to be your model or the senior or the bride that you have a concept for them. And so it makes your brand a little bit more personable because you did a trend with the bride or with the senior, or you did a quick little mini mic situation where you would ask, like, hey, why did you trust me as your photographer today? So instead of the me show or the Katie Love show, you can bring other people into it. So it doesn't feel like all you're doing is just putting your face out there. And sometimes I feel that way myself, even on my Love Social Media Agency page, when I see my face, I'm like, enough of my face. Like, this is a large team. There's so many different people that make this happen. And even if you don't have a team, there's other, like, I feel like photographers often have an assistant or there's a videographer or there's other people that are involved that can make it feel less, like you're only talking about yourself.
If photographers only had, say, like an hour each week to work on marketing because you're doing all the other things, where would you tell them to spend that time?
Mm-hmm. If showing up on social feels hard, I just want you to be consistent. So that does not mean posting every single day, but if you have an hour each week, I would commit to posting 2 times a week at the same time on the same days because that trains the algorithm to know when you're going to show up. And
Mm,
even the head of Instagram has said they reward that kind of consistent behavior. And
mm,
so if you have 2 pieces of content and that feels manageable, I want one of them to be the actual work that you've created and the other one to be so it's like the proof and the personality. And so the
mhm,
personality, I would recommend if you have the time to be a video. It can be if talking on camera feels like a hard barrier, you can actually do the 6 to 8 seconds B-roll type of content that a lot of our busy clients use. So
mhm,
this is getting in the habit of putting a tripod and your phone, and when you're going to shoot a client, making sure you're getting B-roll of that interaction, the BTS, as you guys would often call it, and then you can put text on it, and that's a very low lift piece of content that often performs really well. And when you put the text on top of it, I don't you want you to describe the situation. I don't want you to say, shooting my client and the photos are going to be gorgeous. I want you to say something emotional about what happened that day. For instance, you could say, seeing a senior grow in her confidence after the 15th photo. So, like, maybe they were shy, and then all of a sudden they start getting really sassy and exciting. And that was really rewarding for you as a photographer because you were able to build trust with a young person who then came out of their shell. That's a very
mhm.
compelling story that you can use simply on text on a video. So, that's where I would spend the time.
Do you have a certain time frame, like, say, with, like, the videos, how long they should be, or is there a sweet spot?
So for the B-roll text, I really would do somewhere between 6 and 10 seconds. Talk to camera, we try to say max 45 seconds, and I know it can be really hard to condense it. but people drop off, and so you gotta hook
Mm.
them in quickly. I think your average reel really shouldn't be longer than 12 to 15 seconds. People have such a short attention span, so that's kinda where I would live.
Okay, okay, that's good, that's good to know. Because I was actually just thinking about that the other day for myself. Like, I was, like,
Mhm.
figuring out I was doing something where I was just showing behind the scenes of, a senior who I literally just had her kind of, like, she had a flowy dress, and I was just having her
Mhm.
move back and forth, and I had a text on screen, and I was like, "How long should this be on here?" And I did, like, 7 seconds, I think, like, I was
Mhm.
like
That's
or
perfect.
6 or something like that, that I was like, "Okay, they can read it, they can see what okay, now I want them to go to the caption."
Yes, I love that. I think that even what's become popular lately is saying only half of what you wanna say and then say, "Read the caption for more."
Mm.
And or putting enough, text on there that by the time that the video ends, they actually have to rewatch it, so that's like a hack to get more views.
You've worked with hundreds of brands. What would you say is one thing that businesses that continue to grow all have in common?
Their founder has stepped out from behind the keyboard and behind the invoices and really shown the process of building their business. I think that founder-led content is really huge right now, and with the
Mhm.
use of AI, people want to feel something real and tangible, and so most of my brands that are succeeding, whether it's the founder or someone on their staff who has a huge personality, they're using people to really drive the business because people wanna follow people, they don't wanna follow a brand or a business that doesn't feel personal.
Mhm, mhm. You just said it, and then my next question is about AI.
Great, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I know. It really is becoming a big part of content creation, and I feel like a lot of times it's like, "Is that AI? Is that not AI?" Like, I feel like that could be a game you could play all day long. Where do you think AI helps, and where do you think creators still need to bring their own voice? I mean, you kinda touched on it there with your last
I
but
could talk about AI all day because as a business owner, it makes me smarter and more efficient. But as a creative, I don't want it replacing original thought because then why even hire a social media team if it's all, excuse my language, like AI slop? And
Mhm,
like, so I think that the business owners not using it will get left behind. But the way I tell my team is to use AI as a thought partner, but it should not be the end product when we're writing captions. Because right now, I feel like every other caption I see on social just feels like it's not even coming from that person's brain. But
mhm.
then when it comes to the use of AI in photos, I see both perspectives because I'm a creative. Want to be the one that's owning the photo and the creative direction. But as a business owner, it's become so much less expensive for some of our business owners who used to have to do quarterly shoots to now do one big shoot. And in between, they're supplementing with AI content. And so it's helped them make more money because they're not spending so much on creating those assets.
For me as a photographer, and I know some other photographers that I've talked to about it, there's a company that has, that you can use for retouching, and they definitely have, you know, a lot of the AI, and it is a game changer for photographers. Like, we don't have to outsource, or if you weren't outsourcing and you were sitting there, like, in Photoshop and you were taking every pimple, say, out of a senior's face or anything like that, like, the hours that you're getting back, it's definitely in that sense is a game changer. I know at first photographers were, like, a little nervous that, I could stand here and have my phone take a photo and then it's gonna make me look like I'm, you
Mhm.
know, professional or whatever, but I still think people want to go to somebody for most businesses, I feel like, your photos, anything.
Yes, but it just makes you realize that as a photographer, you need to rework what your offerings are. So the photographers that I still work with have been flexible in helping me create content that's going to last on social media. So I used to work with photographers who would say, well, you're going to get 10 images and they're going to be like the most intricate images with all these props. And then I would say, well, I for someone who has to produce 30 pieces of content a month, it doesn't work. So it's
Mm.
the same thing with AI. It's like, as a photographer, if your time in the package that you've been baking in was for editing, but
Mhm.
now that's gonna become a cheaper process, so can you shoot more photos for that client because then they'll have more leverage for social media, and then that's
Mhm.
gonna create a repeated experience where I go back to my photographers because I much rather have a human take a photo than AI. It just has to be affordable for the brand.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
kind of a small hot take, but I do think photographers are worth every penny, by the way. But when I'm trying to convince a business owner to bake it into their yearly spend, there has to be some finessing in the world of AI now.
Sure, sure. Well, and I just think we have to I mean, it's I think with anything, it's like, when it was film and then it went to digital and, that kind of thing, dating myself, but, like, I feel like people, is like, "Oh, digital's not as good as, like, film," or, you kinda think of that way where we have to adapt, and I feel like if you're not, like, you're not say you're for what you are needing for your brands, if you talk to a photographer and they're like, "Nope, this," you like you said, you get those 10 images and that's what you're gonna get, and then like you said, you're thinking, "But I have 30 days in a month," or whatever I need to you need it for, they're gonna be left like you said, they're gonna be left behind, and so it is hard. I think it is. It's hard as, like, for a business owner. I mean, I even for high school seniors, and I've talked to some of my other friends that are high school senior photographers, I have I jumped on the bandwagon a couple years ago because I would do in-person sales where parents, they just wanted all of the images that I would show them, and say it was 100 images, and I can think in my head, like, "Well, what are you gonna do with these 100 images?" And then I would make them pare it down and, "Okay, put this amount in an album, and then this, print these and stuff." Where I still want you to buy an album. I still want you to print and put them like I see your photos on your wall. Like, I want you to do that. But if you want them all, I'm going to give you an all like, here's a package, it's all inclusive, and you're gonna get what you want because then I know you're gonna come to me. Yes, it's gonna be priced a little bit different because you're getting, say, 100 photos, but yeah, we just have to adapt where I have photographer friends that they're just, they can't wrap their brain around that,
I
and
know because there's so much I don't wanna use the word rhetoric, but photographers have often been told on social by, like, photography influencers, "This is what you have to do to have a high ticket package, and you have to sell it like this, and you cannot be flexible or else that client is not your ideal target."
mhm,
And not that I'm saying every photographer is like this, but as someone who has worked with many, many photographers over 10 years for brand photos in particular, the ones who have been a little bit more flexible with the number of photos get booked all the time by me and all the time by my clients. But you just have to make sure that you're covered, that you're
mhm,
properly being compensated for the 100 photos that you're delivering.
mhm,
But if you I feel this flexibility from many business owners, not even outside of the photography space, where I have had to be flexible in many ways to grow
mhm,
but I have hard boundaries. Like, the how hard boundaries is that I work with women and they have a service or a product, but if a woman comes to me and says, "Well, actually, I really wanna do 5 platforms versus your recommended 3 because I know this is what's best for me," even though I know, "Oh my god, 3 is probably where they need to be," I bend, right, to get the
mhm,
client, and it's
mhm.
made me it's a very hard thing being a business owner, knowing when to bend and not
Yes.
bend.
It really is. Like, you don't want to be like, "Okay," like, everyone when they say, "Well, I want this, I want that," and you're just like, "Okay." But you do have to for certain ones, if you're talking to them and you're like, Yep, I get that. Where it's yeah, and I think with I do some branding photography too, where it is that, like, if they come in and, maybe on the package that they purchase, maybe it says 3 to 4 outfits and they brought 6, and I usually am like, "Well, we'll look at all of them and we might not use all of them." But sometimes we just use all of them, and we might go over a little bit on, say, like, the time that I say it's estimated, but I want my client again, if it's a 20, we go over 20 or 30 minutes, but that client walks out and they're super excited and we got all of their outfits, and personally, sometimes as a photographer, at the end, everybody is feeling so much comfortable that I don't mind, having a little extra time with them, but so
And
yeah.
also, they may purchase more photos because they want all the outfits. So you
Mhm.
will make more money, but and also I think it's part of the ask, like,
Mm.
or how they're approaching it. Do you feel like they're pushing your boundaries and really abusing your time and your scope? Then that's a
Right.
problem.
Mhm.
But I think that there's also ways to just be strategic about how you then say, "Oh, well, you did 2 extra outfits, so no problem. Let's get you another 30 photos for XYZ." And then upselling, I do upselling all the time. I
Mhm.
say, "Oh, you started with Instagram, you really want TikTok. Great, that's a whole new platform." And, so part of what I've done over the years is build longevity even within my own clients because I'm able to make more money by upselling them. Right? And I
Mhm.
feel like upselling in photography is not similar, but there's opportunities for that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, if you like you said, if there's a package of 20 photos, but I always tell clients but you can always purchase more. Like, you don't just have to pick the 20. Yeah, it's very
Mhm.
if someone listening feels like they're behind on social media, what's, like, one piece of encouragement that you would give them?
I have seen clients start at 0. Literally, I have a client who had no Instagram followers. Being on Instagram made her sick, and in a year now has 12,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
Yes, because she was consistent, she got clear about who she was talking to, she showed up on camera, she did all of the homework. So, and I've seen it, I've seen people grow massively in 90 days. I've watched my own profile just in 6 months of trying really hard, really expand. So, you're never behind. Today is the day to start. You've got this. Do content that lights you up, that gets you excited, and it's gonna become easier.
So, Katie, before we go, I have a little segment that's like a rapid fire.
Mhm.
So, just whatever comes to your head.
I'm ready.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Favorite social platform?
Instagram,
One app you use every day?
um, Airtable,
Mm.
random, but I do it.
Reels or stories?
Reels,
A brand doing social media really well?
Poppy,
And one word you think your team would use to describe you?
oh my god, I don't know, anything I say. I think that they would describe me as thoughtful
Mm, mm. I know that's
because
always hard. It's always
it's
hard.
very hard, but also as I said to a woman yesterday who felt like she had to choose, I feel women are multifaceted. So when a woman comes to work for me, I try to be very thoughtful about who they are outside of work and all the things that they come in. Because if I'm only managing this one person I see on the screen and I don't know that they have a military husband who's been out for 6 months and how hard that is, or they have a sick parent that they're taking care of and they're bringing all that into work, like, I'm not gonna be a good manager.
Mhm. So, Katie, before we go, will you tell everyone where they can connect with you, learn about you, and even, hire for social media managers?
Yes, if you're feeling stuck on social and need help, strategy, content creation, you can go to my personal page at Katie Love Social or my company, Love Your Social Media, and our website is loveyoursocialmedia.com.
Yay. Well, thank you, Katie, so much for being on the podcast. This was a really great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Shutter Squad, I told you I absolutely loved this conversation with Katie so much. If you're a photographer or a creative feeling behind on socials right now, I hope her story and this conversation reminded you that you are not behind and that today is the day to start. If you want to connect with Katie or get help with your social strategy, you can find her at Katie Loves Social on Instagram or check out her company at loveyoursocialmedia.com. I will drop all of those in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to The One Behind the Lens. If this one hit for you, I would love it if you would leave a review or you send this to a photographer friend. I also love to see if you share it on your stories. It's just a great conversation that I hope you share with someone that you think needs it. Until next time, I will see you right here behind the lens.
Shut her up and